Hello. I'm doing my final project for the Habits of Mind uh, assignment in the class, Habits of Mind for Education for Equity. And we were told to expound on four of the habits of mind that we learned about during this professional development, and to give some samples of how we integrate that into our teaching, and then some examples of people that embody that. I'm going to start with audacity. I really liked that one, and immediately, what came to mind to me was Barack Obama, The Audacity of Hope. His book he wrote when he was about 45 years old, and I just love that saying, just the bravery, the brazen act of hoping for something is so beautiful. I teach students in continuation schools now. I used to teach elementary, but now I'm with older students that are this is their last chance. They have not done well in comprehensive school, so they've chosen to go to continuation school, or they've been placed there because they're in an expulsion process. And then I also work at community day schools, which the students are living there. They're basically incarcerated. And to get an education for some of these kids is the notion of that is audacious, right? And it's so exciting to get them excited to earn that diploma despite the odds, despite what they've been through, sometimes because of what they've through, been through. Just that beautiful, beautiful notion of bravery. And Brene Brown talked about shame and the lack of shame, right? And just knowing that it's in you to do it, and and the great privilege of a teacher to be able to nurture that in a student, audacity. The second one I chose was curiosity. Um, I loved studying that one through Education for Equity. I like to come at things with curiosity. I uh, I always think of, you know, Oprah or Diane Sawyer or, Kelly Clarkson, people that have interview shows, Anderson Cooper, Andy Cohen, just asking questions that not only uh, make the recipient of the question think, but also sometimes feel really good about themselves, right? Or make them double think about things. Um, so I love curiosity, talking to my students. I talked to a student today, and she said she's like 17% attendance, and she's supposed to have 97%. And she said, "Oh, I want a job. I want a job. Can't miss a go to four. Help me get a job." I said, "Joanna, you're never here when she's here. How is she? How would you feel if you were her? Would she want to recommend you for a job when you're not attending school with any fidelity?" And she thought about it. And I wasn't meaning to guilt her. I just wanted her to think about it from a different perspective, by asking questions. And I said, "I bet you'd feel different if you were getting paid, right?" And she said, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, that's it, miss." So it wasn't to shame her. It was to reframe the thought of, yes, it'd be different if you were getting paid, but this is kind of your first job, earning a diploma. So I hope I helped her through that. She's going to be there tomorrow at 10:20. She promised to meet with the job coach. But asking questions and coming from a good place when you're asking questions. Speaking of good places, um, kindness, coming from a place of kindness. My friend Laura always spoke about her late puppy, her dog Penny, as being good natured. She was the most good natured dog I ever had. And I just love that term, good natured. And I think that Drew Barrymore is a good-natured person. In her talk show, I think being good-natured is just coming from a good place, having good intentions. And I think teenagers and students know that. They can smell a phony. They know about kindness, and they know that kindness can get you far in life. It can get you far in a group project. Being good natured with your coworkers, with your team members of a group project. So I like to remind my students that being good natured can really get you through a lot of tough spots, even in school, right? Um, and the fourth one I chose to talk about and to give an example of a creative person and to talk about how uh, I use this in my teaching is me. I was in the movie business for about 20 years before I pivoted and went to Cal State Northridge and got my teaching credential. And, I wanted a steady job. I wanted to learn about special education. And I thought, oh, well, that was it. I was in the movie business. I was an actor. I was a producer. I was a costume girl. And I thought, well, I'll never be creative like I was. Well, boy, was I wrong, right? How much fun I have had as a teacher. You can see my background. This was my background during COVID, and this is my background now. And I just love being creative. I love creative problem solving. Um, I ran into a student yesterday, or I'm sorry, a former student. Sometimes these people that are 18, they can look 18 or 35. Anyway, I ran into a kid at one of my new continuation schools, and he said, "Where did you used to work?" And anyway, we figured out that I was his homeroom teacher in 2015. And I said, "Oh my God, Nathan, that was my first year with LAUSD. Was I just a mess?" And he said, "No, not at all." He said, "But I remember how creative you were and how beautifully your room was decorated." And I said, "Oh my God, that was my first year at Sepulveda." I said, "Was that the year that I announced the graduating eighth graders in my homeroom with a puppet?" And he said, "Oh yeah, that was you. That was me. That was my year." This is how I announced the kids. I said their names with this puppet that looks like me. I used to have a bob, and I haven't had this exact outfit. Anyway, I have so enjoyed the Habits of Mind class and Education for Equity. And I hope that I fulfilled my obligation with this video. And thank you so much, Education for Equity, and all my fellow teachers. I will be buying another class soon. Bye.